Speaker. Madam Speaker, we are being asked to vote this afternoon, this evening. 4 bills. I've been here since long. I don't still remember when Parliament had been asked to vote 4 bills at a go. I'm doing one speech. It is like this. Madam Speaker, the introduction of this bill and the others is directly linked, as the Minister stated, with the coming into operation of the light rail system, which, according to information we have read, we have taken cognizance, will run at an average speed of 25 kilometers per hour, and with 70% of passengers standing during peak hours. We have, during the past month, since 1.5 years, here in Parliament, we have queried the Minister, we have queried government on many occasions on the implementation of the program. The different problems which we have noticed, me not only as an MP of my constituency, but also as a resident of Rosehill. In a way, Madam Speaker, we're having progress. It's a way of life which is changing in Rosehill since the beginning of this project. True it is that we have been informed that the new Promenade Armand construction is starting now, and commissioning is expected by around 10 months. True it is. That Rosehill is part of its history now. Now Rosehill has changed. Beaubassin has changed, and we'll see in the years to come. We are not, and je ne suis pas anti-patriotique. Madame Speaker, ça fait 36 ans que je suis député. J'ai été au Parlement comme backbencher, PPS, ministre. J'ai été aussi maire de cette ville, de Rosehill, que nous avons beaucoup, pendant des années, moi-même et mes collègues conseillers et d'autres maires, nous avons beaucoup fait, beaucoup travaillé, beaucoup d'efforts pour transformer Rosehill. Ce n'était pas facile de construire le passement jour. C'était à l'époque l'administration MMM à Beaubassin-Rosehill. We were the first municipality to go for a loan. It was not easy. The MSM was in government. The then mayor had to go and see the then prime minister, at least to have the file cleared. We started, the MMM then rebuilding Rosehill. And we have the Place Margio. And over the years, so many developments. And then from 2000 and 2005, when I was Minister of Environment, the then government, we moved further and we constructed, have this railway track transformed into the Promenade Roland. And it changed the life of people every evening, families, senior citizens, youth, using this promenade. And c'était la joie de vivre. It was a new way of life. Progress, I've been here, we have discussed so many years about this light rail system, Metro Léger or whatever. So we have this project. I want to dispel not only confusion, but evil minds in certain quarters that we are against. We are not against progress. We stay there, we reside here, we are inhabitants of the town, we are Mauritians, you are a government. You have the guarantee you will come here in some months? No, it's the population that will decide. So we stay here, I live in Rosehill with all in also my constituency. People come to us, we see. So whenever we have queried government, I'm happy that my good friend Mrs. Doriao has used the word hardship. I was very unfortunate that the minister, while making speech, didn't have any thought of the inhabitants, of the small shopkeeper, les maisons de commerce. I mean, I should have had a few words on these people who have suffered a lot. And we have seen this project growing up with all the problems. Qu'avons-nous pas vécu pendant ces... Ce n'est pas que nous sommes antipatriotiques. La poussière, nous avons demandé un IAIO que nous n'avons pas reçu. Le problème de trafic jusqu'à aujourd'hui. Hier, j'ai pris 35 minutes de la banque commerciale de Rosille pour aller au rond-point. Il y avait un seul policier. J'ai interpellé le ministre. Je peux dire, Madame la Présidente, que le ministre Baudard a répondu favorablement. Il est peut-être le seul ministre, pas moi et mes collègues. Perhaps, dans beaucoup d'occasions, il n'y a pas eu de suivi, peut-être de la part de ses officiers. Mais il a répondu, présent, pour essayer de débloquer les problèmes. Parce que la population de Rosille, de Beaubassin et aussi de ceux qui commencent vers Quatre-Beaunes, pour aller vers Richelieu et la Butte, nous avons vécu des moments difficiles. Pas parce que nous venons au Parlement pour dire bon, il y a des problèmes de poussière, il y a des problèmes de trafic, que nous sommes antipatriotes. Non. Mais le ministre, bien, en plusieurs occasions. Je n'aime pas critiquer où il ne faut pas critiquer, mais je critique. Le ministre peut-être a eu de la bonne volonté. Il est venu nous dire qu'il y a eu coordination. Moi, je blâme l'administration de Métro Express. Il venait dire on fait ceci, on fait cela, il va y avoir un mobile, un flying gang. Et sur le terrain, rien, madame. Que des problèmes. Un petit boost par ici. Non. S'il y a eu des problèmes, parce qu'il y a eu une mauvaise communication, madame, vous n'allez pas croire, vous étiez député. Nous sommes des élus du peuple. J'ai 6 fois demandé au Parlement ici. Faites-nous avoir un petit brief. Nous sommes des élus. Si on nous explique, voilà, on va faire ceci. Je n'ai jamais eu le numéro de téléphone du PRO de Larsen & Toubro. Il m'a fallu me battre pour avoir ce numéro de téléphone, pour essayer de débloquer des problèmes sur le terrain. Moi, je suis un député de terrain, moi. Je ne reste pas dans ma voiture. Je circule dans ma circonscription, mon collègue y va aussi, et les autres peut-être. Mais ceux qui ne vont pas, ils vont venir dire, voilà, nous sommes en train de critiquer. C'est pour cela que j'avais dit à la fois dernière à M. Baudard, à l'honorable Baudard, peut-être il fallait louer une maison pour lui venir voir de visu. Mais à un moment où nous discutons ce projet de loi, Madame la Présidente, j'ai une pensée spéciale pour ces petits commerces que certains me critiquent ou ne me critiquent pas. Moi, je fais ce que je crois, je dis ce que je crois. Pénacadna le mot la russe. Je dis, et aujourd'hui avec le live overhead, les gens m'entendent. Oui, il y a le projet va arriver à sa fin, mais qui the rehabilitation. Il ne faut pas avoir seulement des discours. Le ministre doit avoir une responsabilité en tant que ministre envers la population de Rosille, de Beaubassin, de Richelieu, de Port-Louis, de réhabiliter tous ces sites, de prendre l'engagement total, parce que nous arrivons en fin de décembre. Parce que Rosille, les rues de Rosille, c'est vrai, il y a eu des projets de la CWA, du CEB, oui, spécial, quand même gros, des projets, ça continue. Mais le ministre Baudard a la responsabilité, moi que je vienne dans les détails de ce projet de loi, il a la responsabilité, il n'a pas fait mention aux problèmes des habitants, des commerces, des problèmes de trafic. Les gens qui descendent à Port-Louis doivent quitter leur maison à 6 h, 5 h du matin, peut-être certains ne vont pas croire, quitter Rosille le matin à 7 h. C'est headache, stress. Mais les gens ont vécu, ont été patients. C'est vrai que le projet arrive à terme, nous espérons, en temps voulu, comme le mois que le Baudard a fait mention, mais le ministre a un devoir, je ne dis pas de s'excuser, non. Il devait dire, comme Mme Doria a fait mention, de put on record the hardship with the inhabitants of Rosille Beaubassin and other areas where the Metro Express project has started implementation. Et j'espère que dans tout cet aspect de projet, nous avons vu à la télévision, il y a eu un clip sur l'aspect environnemental. Après, est-ce que dans le projet, il va y avoir un suivi environnemental au point de vue de green space? Moi-même, je ne sais pas, à l'arrivée en DMS, comment cela va être dans 6 mois, dans 10 mois. Il va y avoir le métro, le light rail, mais comment ça va être des deux côtés? Et parce qu'on ne l'a pas dit. Mais aussi, Madame la Présidente, je fais aussi, me fais le porte-parole des opérateurs de taxi. Ils sont dans le flou. Je dis ceux qui opèrent auprès de Assamal. Je dis Assamal, Traffic Center. Moi-même, je n'ai pas eu de réponse. Je rappelle les taxis-trains, les taxis-marrons. Maintenant, on va voir les filles de seuls. Ils sont tracassés. Il faut le dire. Parce que le gouvernement, depuis des années, a reconnu ce petit métier de trafic, de taxi-marron, de l'intérieur de Rosille, de l'intérieur de Beaubassin-Beaubinière. C'est un quartier très risé auprès de Assamal Center à Rosille. Mais tous ces dizaines de taxis, les opérateurs de taxis, avec l'introduction de filles de busseuses, quelles vont être les perspectives d'avenir pour ces opérateurs de taxi? Et je ne veux pas mentionner aussi d'autres commerces. Moi, je me fais le porte-parole, je sais que je suis en train de dire, mais si le ministre a des renseignements, qu'il y a des décisions des prises, qu'il faut qu'il vienne nous dire. Madame le Speaker, j'avais à dire cela parce que moi-même, avant de venir sur le projet, à la cité Barclay, je sais qu'il y a eu l'implémentation d'un trafic, d'un sports ground, donc créer un sports ground pour transférer l'autre. L'accès de la cité Barclay, j'avais posé une question parlementaire la semaine dernière, et j'espère que le ministre y veillerait personnellement. N'importe quel gouvernement, c'est un gouvernement ancien. Moi-même, c'est en 2000 à 2005, ça. Nous avions investi 15 millions pour faire un terrain de foot. La municipalité a donné ce site à Métro Express. Mais les gens demandent, les jeunes demandent. Le ministre a répondu favorablement. Moi, je crois, et je crois sincèrement, que le ministre Boda doit faire appel à un paysagiste, à des professionnels, pour revoir l'ensemble de la cité Barclay. Ce n'est pas piecemeal. Il faut revoir l'ensemble avec un professionnel, avec les ONG. Il y a la station de police. Maintenant, on construit une station de métro. L'aspect sécurité, l'aspect environnemental, l'aspect global, avec l'aide peut-être de la police et des ONG, il faut travailler un projet global. Et je dis cela pour Barclay, et aussi pour Chebel, et aussi pour Richelieu, et aussi pour les autres régions de Port-Louis. Madame le Speaker, as regards the bill itself, I won't be long as many of the provisions will not be implemented. It is clear about the bill. For example, I do not foresee any applicant for a light rail operator's license, another one in the near future. Nor do I believe that the NLTA will suspend or revoke an operator's license held by Metro Express Limited. I don't foresee. If the company does not comply with the condition or condition attached to its license, or a provisional order, or contravenes any section of the Act, I say so because Metro Express will be the sole light rail operator for years to come. And suspending and revoking its operator's license will cause chaos if ever a great number of passengers decide to use the light rail system. Madam Speaker, I have gone through the bill a few times, but I have not come across as to whether the light rail operator's license and the light rail driver's license shall be prescribed regarding their format. If they are not prescribed, I put myself in the following question. How would an officer of the NLTA justify the genuineness of the licenses? There are two clauses, 38.2 and 45.2, whereby the minister may make regulations. However, these have not been provided for prescribing the form of the two licenses. The heading, Madam Speaker, under Clause 25, which provides for the minister to fix light rail fares, is wrong, because Clause 14 of the National Land Transport Authority Bill provides for the setting up of a fair review committee which will advise and make recommendations relating to the regulation and review of fares for the public transport system and the adoption of appropriate fare structure. Madam Speaker, as to the ticketing system, I would have thought that Metro Express Limited would have adopted the latest technology, like the Oyster card in London, the touch and go system. Clause 38.2 provides for the Minister to make regulations to allow a light rail driver, one, to ask a passenger to give his name and address to a police officer or to him on demand, and where he reasonably suspects a passenger of contravening the act. To require a passenger in a light rail vehicle to declare the journey he intends to take or has taken in the vehicle, and to pay the light rail fare on demand for the whole journey, and to accept any ticket provided for it. And to require a passenger to produce during the journey and surrender at the end of the journey any light rail ticket issued to him. And lastly, to require a passenger in a light rail vehicle to leave the vehicle on the completion of a journey for which he has paid the fare. The question which arises, Madam Speaker, is whether the persons employed and having been trained by Metro Express Limited are aware of the above provisions, and if these provisions form part of the schedule of duties. It is not the duty of a light rail driver to go and check tickets. He is supposed to drive a light rail vehicle. It is, as you are asking, a plane pilot to go and verify if a passenger has a correct seat allocated to him. Madam Speaker, a light rail driver license shall be issued to a person by the NLTA as per clause 21(1) and 2. The applicant must be over the age of 21, holder of a driving license for motor cars for at least 18 months, and of good character. However, it is noted that nowhere in the bill or in the regulations to be made by the Minister under clause 45, mention has been made for the testing of applicants for a light rail driver's license with a view to assessing the competencies to drive light rail vehicles. I've heard the Minister stating that there are courses going on, but they are being trained, so we have to see to it. Finally, Madam Speaker, with reference to clause 22, prohibition to drive, park, stop or walk on across a railway line, a fine of 25,000 rupees and 100,000 rupees will be imposed on any person walking or on or across a railway line. In addition to the fine, the offender will be liable to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 2 years. With due respect to the officers who have drafted this bill, I would not know whether they have ever visited cities where there are light rail vehicles operating on streets alongside other vehicles and pedestrians. For example, Manchester, Montpellier and Bordeaux, just to name a few. Throughout the day, you will see pedestrians crossing the railway line. The fine is as heavy as for drink driving, if not heavier. And the Minister must do maximum of communication, informing, using the embassy rightly, just once it is coming into operation, the different provisions of the bill. Madam Speaker, the National Land Transport Authority Bill. I'll come to that. The Minister, I note that the main object of this bill that is being introduced in the House by the Minister of Public Infrastructure and Land Transport is to provide for the establishment of a National Land Transport Authority, which shall be the regulatory authority for land transport and light rail operations in Mauritius, and that the new authority shall take over the functions and powers of the National Transport Authority and perform such other functions imposed and exercise such other powers conferred upon it under the Light Rail Act 2019. To start, Madam Speaker, nowhere in the electoral manifesto of the Alliance LP mention was made of the replacement of the National Transport Authority by a new body. I've gone to records. The previous government had already set up a Mauritius Land Transport Authority under Act number 17 of 2009. And parts of that act were proclaimed. Instead of proclaiming other sections of the Act, in order to make the new authority, which was then passed in Parliament, fully operational, Madam Speaker, the Minister did amongst one of his first things when he took office was to repeal the Act. My first observation of this bill is appellation of the new body itself, National Land Transport Authority. One would have expected, Madam Speaker, that such an authority would cover all aspects of land transport, as was the case under the Mauritius Land Transport Authority Act. The traffic management, which is a very important unit of the ministry, very important section relating to traffic control, security, road safety, and the Road Development Authority, which is responsible for the construction and management of classified roads. These two have been excluded from the new authority, and for reasons unknown, and I hope the Minister will tell us why. My view regarding this omission is that the bill has been hastily drafted so as to enable the light rail to operate at the earliest. Otherwise, it would have taken a longer time to get the bill finalized if the TRMSU and the RDA were to form part of the NLT. Madam Speaker, we are being informed, we are being asked to vote that there would be 3 commissioners: the Chief Transport Commissioner, National Transport Commissioner, the Road Transport Commissioner, and the Light Rail Commissioner. It would have been more appropriate to call the new setup a Land Transport Commission, according to me, rather than the National Land Transport Authority, because the term authority is itself a misnomer and refers mainly to parastatal bodies. The more so, as the new body will be a department within the ministry, as mentioned in clause 4 of the bill. The Minister may wish to note that there exists a Transport Commission in Australia. It seems that the Singapore Enterprise Corporation has helped the Ministry in drafting the different bills before the House today. The officers from the SCE could have proposed simply the term Land Transport Authority as it exists in Singapore. Madam Speaker, in clause 2, under the heading Interpretation, I note that Chief Commissioner is defined as the Chief National Transport Commissioner of the NLT. It seems that the word land has been omitted. If the definition stands as it is, then one may have the impression that the National Transport Commissioner is responsible for maritime and air transport as well. The term Chief Executive could have been used instead of Chief Commissioner. NLTA is an abbreviation meaning National Land Transport Authority. I am of the view that the term authority could have been used instead to mean the National Land Transport Authority, the same as it exists in the Road Traffic Act to define the National Transport Authority and in the Land Transport Authority of Singapore. Madam Speaker, from information gathered, it appears that there has not been any consultation whatsoever with the Ministry and the staff of the National Transport Authority. There has been no consultation, and even the trade unions representing the interests of the staff. The staff of the National Transport Authority came to know about the new organization, according to information I received, only 2 weeks ago, following approval by Cabinet for the introduction of the 4 bills in the National Assembly. With the introduction of this bill, the role and powers of the Road Transport Commissioner will be taken over by the new Chief Commissioner. Madam Speaker, one should bear in mind that anyone who had applied had to be the Road Transport Commissioner knew that he would eventually be the responsible accounting officer of the National Transport Authority, and that he would be answerable to the Minister as set out in Section 3.1 of the Road Traffic Act. The section stipulates there shall be appointed a Road Transport Commissioner who shall, subject to general directions of the Minister, exercise such powers as conferred and perform such duties as are imposed upon him by this Act and other enactment. This bill will convert, if I may say so, Madam Speaker, the Road Transport Commissioner, being the head of department, into head of transport division of a new National Land Transport Authority. It is in a form, an indirect form of demotion. And this is clearly shown in paragraph 3 of clause 11 under her heading, Staff of the NLTA. Regarding the appointment of the Chief Commissioner under clause 8, the most appropriate term would have been a Chief Executive. I have stated earlier, and the Chief Executive could have been appointed by the Minister after consultation with the other authorities, as is the case in the Land Transport Authority of Singapore. As regards the licensing committee set up under clause 13 of the bill, my main concern, Madam Speaker, is paragraph 7. Why the Chief Commissioner needs to have the approval of the supervising officer of the Ministry for certain classes of applications to be dealt with by officers of the NLTA. I'm very uneasy because we all know how the ministers may have grip on the supervising officer, and it becomes political. For example, if the Chief Commissioner receives an application for the transfer of a public service license from the holder of a license to his son, which may be a straightforward case, it means that the Chief Commissioner needs to get the approval of the supervising officer and ultimately the Minister. Instead of simplifying the procedures so as to offer a better service to the public, it seems that they will be longer and the public will be penalized. It would be better if the Chief Commissioner, according to me, could decide which application needs to be dealt administratively by him or by delegating powers to senior officers. Under paragraph 7b of the same clause, an application for a carrier's license shall henceforth be dealt with by the licensing committee, which will meet once or twice a month. This is departure from procedures existing in the past whereby such applications were dealt administratively within a week, longer period. Madam Speaker, with regard to the Fair Review Committee to be set up under clause 14, one would expect the committee to look only at the fares being charged on public transport. Fares defined as the money that someone pays for a journey in a vehicle, such as a bus, train, taxi, plane, etc. The committee, as such, cannot therefore look at the items listed in paragraph B, 1B, 1C, 1D, and 1F, unless the appellation of the committee is amended. Also, it seems that the composition of the committee is somewhat heavy with 11 members and could be reduced to 7, at the most with the Chief Commissioner chairing the committee. The Minister may refer to the composition of the Appeal Committee under clause 19. The Appeal Committee consists of 5 members, including the chairperson. Madam Minister, I have just made reference to the Appeal Committee. We all know, we have been here for years, the NTA itself, the credibility, cases of corruption, cases of interference. Over the years, I must at least for this one give credit to the Minister for having taken the initiative to do away with appeals submitted to him or any minister after him for decision. However, I firmly believe that he has foregone an opportunity to set up a full-time transport tribunal. The Public Service Appeal Tribunal is one example, which could have taken over the duties of the Motor Vehicle Insurance Arbitration Committee and the Appeal Committee. As the chairperson and the members of the Appeal Committee will be appointed by the Minister, one wonders whether the committee will function in an impartial way. I state again, we have seen over the years, even now, what is happening in that sector of giving licenses. Madam Speaker, with reference to clause 22, saving and transitional provisions, paragraph 8C and 9C, provide a sort of deux poids, deux mesures. Under paragraph 8C, it is stipulated that any appeal made to the Minister under the Road Traffic Act, which is pending on the commencement of this Act, shall be dealt with by the Minister. Whereas under paragraph 9c, any appeal made to the Commissioner, to whom responsibility for the subject of road traffic and road transport is assigned against the decision of the RTC, which is pending on the commandments of this Act, shall be deemed to be made by the Appeal Committee. There is a problem there. On one hand, appeals made to the Minister shall be dealt with by him, whereas in road drinks, same will be dealt by the Appeal Committee pending the coming into operation of a new Act. Finally, Madam, on this Act, I would like to draw the attention of the Minister that the website, I've been on the website, and you are a very modern Minister, very modern. But the website is nil. Nothing on the website. So I tried that of the Attorney General, but the Road Traffic Act has not been updated. And I don't see since when. Because the amendment brought by the latest Road Traffic Amendment Bill since 2015 are not contained in the Road Traffic Act, posted even on the website of the Attorney General Office. So the Minister, which is very like communication, modern, I think I should put order in house. Somewhere. Madam Speaker, I won't be long. There is two small bills. The Road Traffic Amendment Bill number 2. I have stated I won't be long on this bill, which is being introduced in the National Assembly by the Minister of Public Infrastructure. Again. A glance at the bill shows that the majority of amendments refers to the replacement of the Commissioner by the Chief Commissioner. Although steps, Madam Speaker, have been taken by the State Law Office to make relevant amendments, I would like to humbly draw the attention of the Minister that under Clause 3 of the bill, which amends Section 2 of the Act, an omission has been made regarding the old registration mark, which was inserted by Section 23A of Act 27 of 2012, with effect to 21st December 2012. It is defined as a registration mark assigned prior to 10th April 1992 by the Commissioner, and the Commissioner has not been replaced by the Chief Commissioner. As regards Clause 4 of the bill, which amends Section 3 of the Principal Act, I believe that subsection 2 n'a pas sa raison d'être because the definition of authorized officer as defined in Section 2 of the Principal Act covers this section. Madam, lastly, the Victoria overhead pedestrian. I talked to the Minister last time. We are in Parliament. We are being asked to vote the construction of an overhead pedestrian bridge. I think we deserve, as Member of Parliament, to have a sketch. When we had this Bagatelle flyover, members were provided. Why nothing to hide? Members which are being asked to vote will have an overhead. You have professionals who have worked on the project. And Papiakat, therefore, at least we know that, okay, we are voting, but we are members of Parliament. There is nothing wrong in circulating a sort of brief sketch of what is being proposed. So it's not too late. The Minister can circulate it to us. And also, Madam Speaker, I'm somewhat confused as to why this bill is being introduced in the National Assembly by the Minister Boda. As the Minister, as defined in Clause 2 of the bill, makes reference to the Minister to whom the responsibility of land. Was it not for the Minister of Land to come? I'm just asking, in my personal opinion, because it is stated that under Clause 2 of the bill makes reference to the Minister to whom responsibility of land. Nowhere in the bill appears the responsibility of the Minister of Public Infrastructure and Land Transport. As to the distances of the columns and so on, I would want to. But I know that this contract is being, this project is being geared by professionals, at least for that. So I'm sure, we are sure we'll be following up. We'll be here around, and we'll follow up on the construction of what's happening on site, whether there would be des évocations sur les projets. To conclude, Madam Speaker, I will again state we will be around to evaluate other citizens of this country, but I'm sure as MP, because we all know what we are coming back on this side of the House. I don't know for others. What the points are made ne sont pas des oiseaux de malheur. We are Mauritians, we like our country. We are not like certain persons who have been there to make money, to travel, to make, I would say, profiter de ce projet pour faire de l'argent. Nous sommes des observateurs avertis. Nous, ce que nous souhaitons, c'est que les habitants, moi je termine sur cela, de l'île Maurice, nous aurons dans quelques mois, le projet sera opérationnel. C'est une grande responsabilité sur le ministre Baudin. Beaucoup a été dit sur l'aspect sécurité. Moi, aujourd'hui même, je termine là-dessus, les traffic lights. Je vous ai parlé, monsieur le ministre, coroner révérend le Van der Wees. Il n'y a pas de traffic light. Et nous savons tous ce problème de traffic light. All the MPs knows. What guarantee do you give to the nation, to the traveling public, that these will be, there won't be barriers, from what I've understood, that there will be traffic lights. We all know that Mauritius, we have only one sole operator of, unless I'm mistaken, of this traffic light actually. So, okay, you're doing a new project. What provision would be made for the safety of the public in case of breakdown? These are I would say, sensitive equipment, whether there would be technicians, whether there would be spare parts, because once the metro goes on, so if there is no barrier and the traffic lights get, I would say, break down, what would be your contingency plan? And the last one is we have problems of heavy rains. If we see, near I reside myself, we have put rails at the corner of Malachik and went at near roundabout Beaubassin. So these corners are elevated ones, and the roads are down. What happens when there would be plenty of water coming from Meldrum Street downstream? These are questions which the people are asking. Madam Speaker, the Minister owes the nation replies to their worries. The Minister owes to the inhabitants of Rosehill the deadlines when the town will be refreshed again. In my own constituency, Barclay-Chebel, the Minister owes reply, not promises, not speeches, but action. And will be here to evaluate the performance of this Metro Express, Metro Rail, Light Rail, and the promises made by the Minister with regards to the amenities and also the well-being of the inhabitants where there have been construction during this Metro Express. Thank you, Madam Speaker.